So when we get to a point, at some point, all faiths and beliefs have to be dropped. Because then we can step into assuming a responsibility again with Source to change things, to contribute to something, not just please give me this and please give me that all the time. Get all the money given to you and the perfect mate, and it's going to crumble out from under you before the life's over. And you can't take the money with you. Can't take the house, can't take nothing.
Yeah. No, you have.
Life is very short on Earth. It's not normal. 100 years with people shriveling up and being old, it's not normal. People think it is because they don't have much of a choice to think about it any other way. They don't have the training or experience growing up here to know any different. And usually, as you all know, there's a fear of some type of fear that keeps people from really remembering. They're afraid to. Because most of what put them here unaware was not fun. And it wasn't, and that's why they don't want to know it. It's part of it, it's subconscious. When you get rid of the secondary implants, you're already well ahead of the game because those influences that hold in place the primary implant, you now have consciousness over that primary implant. You either accept that and move forward with that knowing, or you doubt it and keep dwelling in fear, in which case you can't quite access the knowing yet. Which just means you're not letting yourself know yet. Still some fear, some lack of courage at some point. Some kind of training and belief system holding a person back here, that's all. Those are all artificial. They're not meant to stay in us. Belief systems are meant to be dropped away when we're ready to leap into direct experience. It's very simple. And all of you have crossed that threshold, that bridge into the next higher reality, into the hue, because once you do that, it's not a reversible deal. It's like you're telling the Source, I'm going to go all the way back home and be a co-creator with you now. I'm ready after, let's see, Susan, you've been down there for about 3 billion years. You had about 2 billion lifetimes. Are you ready yet or what? You know, it's like that. God, what are you going to do? Can't force anybody. So the work I do, for what it's worth, is done from the inside out. That means people are worked with probably for some time before they find this work or find me. They don't know that, of course, because it's done when they're out of their body at night. And they haven't yet crossed the bridge to bring back to this life in the morning when they wake the body up what they're doing. They're doing it, they just don't know it. There's a deep fear that keeps people from remembering such things. Because if they remember that, they have to give up their religious beliefs and their saviors and their Buddhas and their everybody in order to step into mastery like those people are supposed to represent. There is no shortcut to some heaven where you just get brought there and given this free ride with no responsibility and no awareness, because people would just filthy up the whole place in a day, ruin it with their negativity and fear. So none of the things that we think of as valuable can be brought with you into the void or higher. They will not go there. They cannot be brought there. Not even a subconscious mind, not even a body of any kind, not even an etheric body can cross into that void. Only what we are can do that. That's why it's important to know what we are, or we can't do it. And the hue that's the one power behind everything will not take us anywhere. It won't manifest where we imagine going unless we can see where we're going, right? If you don't know where planets look like and what some of this stuff is like in these other planes, and you didn't even remember your astral, causal, mental, or etheric bodies at all, just occluded, afraid of that. And you've got those bodies, your higher self's afraid of talking to you, you've got a problem. Now you're just left with reincarnation and, leaving a body when it dies and being still in fear and coming back and finding the false security of another body with no memory again. Doesn't do any good. It never changes anything. So you might say, well, okay, why the heck would any source energy from behind all life that we come from, want to support or maintain such a foolish bunch of nonsense. But we're the foolish bunch of nonsenses that come from the source that have been maintaining it through our ignorance or fear or lack of experience from the beginning to now, all kinds of things. If you multiply this out times quintillions of beings, all fluttering around, bouncing around in bodies in the lower planes below the void, and you give it a couple billion years, do you know what kind of havoc and mess you're going to find at the end of that time? Oh my God, guess what? It's a prime example of it. It's a living example of the end result of all of that. And there's only one way to go from that point, and that's upward, back to source. There just isn't anywhere else to go. So when you connect into the hue in this way, you're beginning to work, or I should say the source energy is beginning to work with you. Not just support you any way you are, but it begins to work with you. And some of the beings we get introduced to begin to work with you. And it's subtle. And they're not going to just come out and dump it on your head and give you back all of your freedom and all your faculties out of nowhere because you just mess it up in a day. The wisdom at the core of what we are as an Atma has to be awoken along the way of recovering those higher faculties, or we won't use them correctly. And the inexorable law in the lower dimensions of time and space is whatever you put out, that's what comes back. We want to be able to work running forms in all these planes without creating cause and effect. You could talk to some people, intellectual people, and other people on Earth all day long, and they would never understand this. You can't get out of cause and effect. There's positive and negative, and that's it. Well, they're right in a way. But their belief system keeps them funneling energy into both. Right? Opposing forces. And then they're manifesting two things. Sometimes a little better or good on one side than bad. Sometimes it's a little more negative. And their lives manifest that. And you go, how did God do this to me? Well, there wasn't a God who did it to us. But on another level, we did it to us. Mm-hmm. Why would we be vulnerable ever to be caught by reptilians, eaten alive and killed, deliberately surrounding the Atma with subconscious stuff to just have fun with it sadistically? Put it on a planet and tell it to reincarnate with no memory. Good prison planet. Yeah, that's not going on anymore. Nobody's doing that anymore, but they did. The Say rays that Ambassador Trurelian represents, of course, among also he's a representative of silent mentors as well. Can't really say if he is one or not, but I suspect he might be, or at the beginning stages of that. Because the teachers of the Say rays, which is the prototypical human race that lived for billions of years and designing and developing this type of body, two-stranded. Most normal human races out among the stars have four-stranded DNA. Twice as many as us. Obviously much brighter and more capable. And they live a lot longer, and their telomeres on their DNA don't shrink when the cells divide. Just common stuff. Stuff that should be available on Earth as a normal world. It's not normal. Not yet. Now some of you might ask, well, how do I immortalize a physical body? Why the hell would you want to? The way you are right now. It would be a trap. That'd mean the body and your consciousness you have right now would stay just like that, or back to 36 or 40, forever, and you'd still be stuck not knowing anything. And now you'd have to live watching all of your friends and people die around you, and boy, would that cause problems for governments and religions. They would want to tear you apart and figure out when you tick. That's a problem. Because the subconscious implants masses of people want to keep everybody down with them. They don't want to let you out. They don't want you to step beyond the norm. They want the status quo. Yeah. Government, religious people, they're all the same. They have the same subconscious problems. So they only pass on the same subconscious problems to others. That's all they can do. So this work as you know, came from outside of Earth. Not fairly recently in terms of Earth years. But all of you came from outside of Earth originally too. The body was made of molecules from the inside the atmosphere of the planet Earth. But you didn't originally have two-stranded DNA. So what happened? How did you end up with two-stranded DNA stuck in a body with no memory? Why would we ever be vulnerable in the first place? These are the questions people on Earth never ask. Well, almost never. But when they do, that's when the omnipresent power begins to pay a notice to you. And master teachers, they begin to take notice of you. See my point?
Yeah.
They begin to see something light up in a dark room, people with dark energy, and they just see something. So that's generally how they help to guide a person at night when they're out of their bodies until they can come to a point where they can step out of the box of thinking and imagining just in Earth, just on Earth's atmosphere, because that won't take you very far at all. It won't even take you to the astral plane, much less anywhere that matters. So that's why. So when we go on these journeys, I usually send the hue out, and I'm doing it with Torelli and Satnam and some others who are waiting for us. It's funny, I didn't have the time with what I had to deal with today to actually sit down in a contemplation and call upon all these beings. But the intention and the focus was the same. So as soon as I mentioned their name and went into the you, they said, "Oh, we're already here waiting for you. We're ahead of you." And I said, "Okay, great. Well, just so you guys don't take it as an offense, you know." So I'm always respectful of them. There's always a Galactic Alliance couple. Don't think of them as alien humans like them and us. They're just people. They aren't burdened with what happened to people on Earth. They don't have subconscious minds. They are not the same as people on Earth. You can't project on them that they're like us, because they're not. They just aren't. And if that hurts your ego, well, too bad. We're not like them. They're not like us. Which is a good thing, because then it means they can see what problems we're having and help arrange over time, to help us select, to choose to get free, to step forward, to have courage. We have to have that or we go nowhere. Everybody has courage to become fully aware of themselves as the Atma again. That was never suppressed from implants or subconscious minds or anything out in the electromagnetic field around us that through which we see distortions of everything. Fear-based distortions, all that does not and has never been placed inside the Atma itself. It's all outside in the field that surrounds it, through which it sees things. And that's the problem. As long as a person thinks they're a body and they think they have a soul somewhere they'll get to one day, it's backwards. Completely. They won't find nothing that way. So the first thing we have to do is start thinking as the being running a body. Because that's what we're doing. Do you know how complex a process it is for an Atma to run a human body on Earth in an atmosphere like it has, negative? It's a very complicated process. And you're the one giving the energy to that body to make it work, or the heart wouldn't work, it wouldn't pump, you wouldn't breathe, it wouldn't, nothing. The brain wouldn't work. Bodies don't run themselves. They don't have their own power source. They get it from us. And here people on Earth are running a body and don't even know anything about nothing about who they are. I mean, that's pathetic. But it's the way it is. They don't remember anything because they're terrified to do it. They've been told, programmed, "We will eat you alive and bite off your fingertips if you ever remember this, so don't do it." Of course, that's just an idle threat. There's no such, they can't ever do it again. They've been completely removed from our solar system and they will not return. So it gives us a chance. If I was asked by Zetranami if I thought Earth people deserved to survive and not be annihilated, the physical forms, I'd say, no, they don't deserve it. Wipe them out. Go ahead. It wouldn't be the first time. Screw it. Start over. But see, every time that's been done and people are freed from that whole planet and they're put back and they're running bodies, and you give it enough time and they end up in the same place all over again in another culture down the road, and nothing changes. So something else had to be done in creation to change that, because the lower worlds of time and space that we're running bodies in were or are fixed and finished. You can't change them. But we can change them when we go where we're going above the void. There's no negative nature there. It's pure positive energy. The beings there have no negative nature. We come from there. Actually, none of us have negative nature at all. Right now. That's all in the field of energy of experiences kept out here in the electromagnetic field through which we see the universe and go, oh, if I do that, I'm going to be buggered by a reptilian or picked up by a gray, or, oh, I can't do that. I'll end up on Earth again. I don't want to stay on Earth. And there's this vicious circle, intellectually, psychologically. A person just goes around in a circle, being mindlessly entertained by whatever they can find on the internet or TV or whatever, until they get too old to do something about it. That's why I'm taking the time with you few people to share this telepathically with you, because this is part of the journey. This is actually part of what changes you, to know this stuff for yourself. When I share it as a demonstrated experience with you this way, it wakes up in you. It rubs off. When you go on the journey, there's a man and a woman standing beside you, behind you. They are of the Galactic Alliance in general, not always. Sometimes they're master teachers, not associated with the Galactic Alliance, from another dimension. You know, they may have a physical body, they may have only a causal body. Or like Light C only has an etheric body and works above the void in the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, in that pyramid teaching facility. He doesn't have these other bodies, you know, mental or astral or causal or physical. Zetranami doesn't have any of the lower bodies at all. Tyrellian doesn't either anymore, but he can manifest one on any plane, and you'd think you were dealing with a solid being. But he got rid of all that stuff. All you got to do if you're stuck in it is give it up when it wears out over and over and over again, which is fine, I guess, but after a few billion times, you'd think we'd learn something. Fear is a funny thing. It's artificial, it's implanted. It is not a part of anything to do with the Atma itself. And it's not in us. It's exterior. It's in that form of the hue that, say, is the form of the vibration of the hue in the physical universe. Not the same type of hue that's in the void or higher. It's still the hue, but it's on a much lower power level, let's put it that way. So these beings are doing one thing. Really only one thing. They have multiple tasks they fulfill. And they're going with us on the journey to keep your subconscious anything turned off, whatever it is. Not just primary and secondary implants, but the entire subconscious field. They just turn it off so that we go on the journey as the beings we are and get the best benefit out of it. Doubt and fear are not part of your natural nature. As long as you believe they are, you'll feed energy to them and create the doubt and fear. It's as simple as that. Those are usually subconscious, compulsive, encouragement type of things that get stimulated from our lives on Earth, from other people, from the internet, from nuclear war, from threat of this. Reptilians with Nazis in Antarctica is a great one. Put that out and you've got people stuck on Earth because they're in fear. It just continues to make or promote fear and all the things that it does. So it's important to have the right discrimination awakened, so that when you see something on the internet, or when you review or research something, You have the wisdom, without any fearful influence, to decide whether it's going to lead you somewhere constructive or not, or just get you going around in a circle. This is important. Now, I can't do this for anybody else, but I can have it rub off on you, so to speak. Try to bring that type of capability to the surface because you once had it on the surface. It's not dead, it's not destroyed, generally just suppressed and it's behind some fear. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
When I send out the hue, any questions before we go further?
No.
Okay, then I will mute your microphones. You can always unmute them and ask a question if you want, but this will help us get a better recording quality for the journey. So this man and a woman that's about 36-ish, because the physical bodies they have out there match the prototype body that they show each other. And for thousands of years, they will always match that prototype body. Eventually, those bodies will get older, or they'll decide to step out of it and disintegrate it, to either not have a body or work with another one that's been prepared for them. Now, that's really the normal way of living. People on Earth don't have that option at this point. And if people were doing it in one little community in Colorado, say on a hippie type farm or ranch, and it got out in the news, the men in black would show up at that little farm, and that would be the last you would hear about it. So you can't just display freedom like that on a world full of fearful people because they react negatively to it. They react in fear. So the beings who come here and walk among us down the street, it's not difficult at all for them to simply not reveal themselves to you. You wouldn't pick up on them. You wouldn't know they're there unless they opened a little door of energy and said, "Look at me, I'm not from your planet." Otherwise, you wouldn't know. So that's important to understand, that people like us are not from Earth. And there are people coming here and have been, I think, 80 different races, probably more than that. But they all operate under some kind of an organization, some kind of a principle of regulations and rules that does not allow them to interact with people on Earth openly until things are ready. Otherwise, there will be panic in the streets, governments reacting negatively, religions acting negatively. Who influence government people? You see the point, the problem with it? People will fight to the death to defend their faith when their faith is not based on direct experience. That's the problem. Particularly with Earth people. So they're keeping these subconscious things turned off. When you imagine or daydream you're being above the body where you live, whether it's in Victoria in Australia, or Florida where Susan is, or Pennsylvania where Lee is, or North Dakota where Marshall is, or in Redding, Northern California where I am, where this body is. It's the same thing you do when you imagine going to the store. I keep it so simple for people, because it is. There's nothing more complicated about leaving the body and going on these journeys than daydreaming it. The problem with people on Earth is they think their imagination comes from their brain, a physical body and a limitation. And then when they imagine going to the store, their brain made it up, so they went to the store. The body followed the imagination. But this isn't the way it actually works. If people on Earth were taught from childhood and from their society and their spiritual beliefs and governments to understand what they are and how the universe is structured, then people would know how to do this growing up and wouldn't think twice about it. But see, that's for normal planets. Earth is not normal yet. It's going to take beings like this arriving on Earth in large numbers, openly at some point, to fix this broken world. I don't mean the world's broken, but the atmosphere is certainly screwed up. Everything ever done by people to people, everything ever imagined is still in the atmosphere stored there. And it does not go outside the atmosphere into space, because that's the hue. People think it does, but it doesn't. A radio signal can go out there, but the actual emotions and imagination of negative stuff cannot go there. It doesn't stay there. You can send a signal from one point to another as a carrier wave, but it doesn't stay in the universe of the hue that it travels through. You can't record it there. There's nothing in that that will accept anything like that. So when we go out in space, we're stepping into the omnipresent spirit, the hue itself. People don't know this on Earth. They haven't got a clue what they're praying to. And they don't know how to work with it properly. They're supposed to be trustworthy guardians and custodians of world systems and plants and animals and be respectful of it. People on Earth are not. For the most part, most of them are not respectful of this at all. And they think they're God's chosen, or they think that this is the way it is. But only because they haven't been exposed to something else. Most people never get exposed to something like this growing up on this world. When you're near the ceiling looking down on your body, there is two beings hovering beside you, spherical beings just like you. And they have a 36-year-old perfect male, perfect female body. And you're up there showing them a perfect female or male body, about 36. Not like the one you have on Earth. It looks the same, but it's flawless. And it isn't made of physical matter or DNA. It is a projection of a form based on a prototype, which is Zetranami. That goes back in not only galactic history, it goes back into interdimensional history. So we show them this form because no fear is on in you. You can do this. It's something that just is there. You know how to do. So we're meeting on even ground. Obviously, these beings are far more enlightened and awake in a practical sense than you are, but they don't see themselves as being better than you or above you. If they keep your fears turned off, it'd be foolish for them to think that way, because then you're an Atma like they are. What's the difference? You don't have a 4-stranded DNA body on a planet somewhere that you've left under the care of your fellows, so that you can come on this journey with us and go across up to the void and beyond it. Because they cannot take spaceships there. None of them can. Not Oceanans, not Sayrays, if they had spaceships. None of them can take a ship of any kind into the void or higher. There are a type of light crafts in the etheric plane that work within the etheric plane. They don't work anywhere else. Etheric body does not work in the mental plane or causal or astral at all. They are made of a higher molecular time rate of matter, and they stay within that plane. So if someone gets aware by drugs or alcohol somewhere in this life of their astral life, and they tear open a door between the physical and the astral, say that one of the parallel dimensions of the physical, and up into maybe the lower astral, they're going to be talking to things and pushing shopping carts around that are actually there. But they've mixed the two planes up. That makes them unstable, and as they get put away or just walking around on the street. And the rest of the people on Earth don't know and don't communicate with things in other parallel dimensions or higher realities. They don't talk with people from other planets or any of this. So it becomes a threat to them. And they don't know how to solve these problems. Of course, these problems are solvable, but not by scientists and medical people on Earth as they are now. So this is not new, solving such problems. To solve a problem that's affecting a person's physical life that's astrally based, you have to solve the problem with the astral body. It's an emotional difficulty. This is the way life really works. So these beings are here to go with us for two reasons. They leave their body behind in a little egg-shaped chair with a blue cushion by an oval glass top table and a carpeted luminous rug and board an Emerald Star cruiser, stationed at the ice rings in the planet that are surround the planet Saturn, and they come here and join us. They could do it in spaceships surrounding us, which they do for implant removal journeys, but they don't need to do that here, because we're not doing that kind of journey. We're going much further. So I'll send out the hue, and this will connect the dots between the planes. And I'm not the only one doing it. Zetranami, Zetranami, and others are doing it in their own way. You can hear them hewing, but their mouths don't move, because it's coming from the core, the white core of the Atma. If you need to see their mouths move, these perfect forms, they could sing it that way. But they're doing it with us because collectively we're building a tunnel. It's a doorway. When we're in outer space, we are always generally, as a keeping it a focused journey, not scattered all over the place, we'll find ourselves as an orbit of spherical beings around Zetranami. And then you begin to see after that, because I've never done this before, a physical form appear, standing below the Atma you are, and you see Zetranami's physical form appear. These are pure energy forms, prototypes. They've been like that since before we stepped into the lower worlds of time and space. So we're all able to show each other this. Zetranami stands in the middle of the circle for one purpose only, to keep us focused on getting something constructive out of the journey. Otherwise, you just go flying off into the astral plane, or astral travel, or go here or go there and come back to Earth, and you're no better off for it. Really. So he keeps his two thumbs up with a golden white light around them. And what he's simply doing is bringing a higher energy of the hue to the physical universe and surrounding us with it. And I help him do that. And Zetranami, hovering way up in space, does this too. Et and Din do it. They're hovering above Zetranami. They're silica-based creatures. They're Durans. Their tails glow like crystal opal in bright sunlight. In their bodies they have on Oceania, they actually can fly through the air of a physical planet and defy gravity, because they have a charge they set up in their tail creates an electromagnetic field, and they can move it around, just like an anti-gravitic propulsion would do for a craft, a spaceship, except they're an organic species. Telepathic, photographic memories, quite bright, speak any language. Master Pelham's out in space, further out in this orbit of people around Zetranami, Ramu's closer to the planet. They keep their positions the same so as not to confuse the hell out of all of you. There needs to be some consistency for you to build upon things. The journeys create, like first times you go out, you're building the base of a pyramid made of an energy that's not physical. And each time you go, you're building the next layer, a little bit narrower, slanted upward, and so forth, until you get to the top of a quartz cap on the top of that pyramid, and you're able to be in that quartz cap or hover above it. It's a solid foundation upon which you're standing. An earthquake, a planetary shift, makes a pyramid structure go in on itself. It doesn't fall apart. It actually pulls in on itself. It becomes stronger, which is one of the primary reasons for the shape of the pyramid on a spherical planet. Think about it. An Earth has a number of pyramids that can be drawn inside the sphere, and they would, fill the entire energy of that sphere up. Got a big one in the north of the equator, and another big one pointing downward south, kind of like that. What is that symbol that Jewish people have? It looks like a star with different points coming through it. Yeah, well, the real purpose of that goes quite beyond that faith on Earth. Let's say more of an intergalactic understanding of energies and how they interact. So out here in space, you can see this man and woman standing beside you with the Atma hovering above them, just like you. They're simply there as friends to make sure no fear is turned on in you. No subconscious apprehension, no doubt. None of this I can't do it, none of that stuff. For this time, you are an Atma, a God person, a co-creator with the source. Coming back and forgetting some of this later is about mastery. That's all. You cannot gain what you already have, but you can awaken to it. The only thing in the way of that is some kind of subconscious fear. Fear is artificial and implanted. Remember this always. Fear is artificial and implanted. Not in the Atma, you, but in the energy field that surrounds your body, people call the aura, and in the energy field that surrounds the Atma, outside of it. The Atma is not made of anything from the lower worlds. You can't put negative things in it, ever. Which means you've never been negative, really, as an individual. So what karma is there to pay off? What reincarnation is there mandatory? There isn't, unless you believe that. Unless you're brainwashed to get suckered into that, then you'll create it. And the hue will just support you, manifest it around you, until you get tired of it. So out here in space, in the hue, there's a white golden light surrounding us everywhere. It is not black. Understand this. I don't care what you look at on the internet, on YouTube or Google, and you see this beautiful galaxies, right? And all this blackness supporting them. Sometimes it looks a little blue-black, but it doesn't matter. Galaxies turn on their axis to create these fields of energy made out of the hue that come out of the South Pole, go in the North, so it can float in this other energy in a certain position relative to other forms of life, other galaxies, billions of them. The axis of an individual galaxy is an interdimensional doorway between a higher dimension and this physical universe. It comes into the center of that core and goes out through all the stars in the spinning arms of the galaxy and continues out into that so-called black void, which isn't. When you're outside or above the limitations of human eyes, which cannot see high enough frequency to see it, even when you're on Earth, or hear it, then you see it as a white golden light everywhere. And it's an energy that is not the matter that makes up galaxies. So and all the stars in the galaxy, in the Milky Way, billions of them, they look perfectly suspended and very clear in this other energy that's subtle behind and supporting them. That is the omnipresent first half of the word hue, or human. Human, hue-woman, hidden in plain sight. It is a link that opens a doorway in the pineal gland, the center of the brain, back on Earth, so that you can have an energy running the body while you're gone on one of these journeys in a conscious way. When you look up above Ambassador Torellian, you see this beautiful, he's a bit larger Atma than we are, there's more colors to it. Not quite like you'd see a silent mentor, because there's two of those hovering up above Eta and Din, between them, between Eta and Din, then there's them, then there's Satnam above them. They're simply positioned in these higher levels of space, because above Satnam is this golden hourglass-shaped whirling vortex with a blue-green water-like light around it going clockwise. And at the other end of it, you can see a pale blue luminous light. I say pale blue because it looks pale blue, but it's brighter than anything down here. It's brighter than anything we would find in the physical universe. But to the Atma, it appears pale blue. It's not overwhelmingly bright. It's not like looking at the ocean of sound and light or source or prime creator. It's not like beholding Agam Purusha, which is brighter than a million stars down on Earth as a single being. These are levels of dimensional reality quite beyond most people's remembrance or comprehension. The individual being running a body on Earth has the capability to know this stuff, to comprehend it, to circumnavigate the multidimensional creation, to go anywhere we want to go. We have to have a visual awareness of where that place is, or the hue, the one power that manifests us getting from point A to point B cannot take us there, ever. You can have a master intervene and take you from point A to point B without your involvement at all, which is nice for having a nice trip and a memory like a vacation to Hawaii and coming home, but it won't change you. When we wake up to some of these locations we go on, then we have the ability to go there again. And you're going to find after even you've gone on these journeys and you know how to see certain parts of these places that have been introduced to you. There's a reluctance, there's almost like a heavy energy trying to hold you back from actually doing it. And it's so simple. That's just fear. That's just the subconscious, which you all still have, affecting you when you're running around on Earth. When you're out of your bodies at night, like now, it's the same as when you leave your body at night, except you're left your bodies and you're consciously aware, because of my voice and the telepathic nature of these journeys. You're aware. You're aware. You're an Atma. This is like having an out-of-body journey and remembering in the morning, but far more involved from A to Z than anything you would bring back by yourself. When you see Satnam, he has his thumb up with a golden light around it. It's basically providing us in a oval shield of a little bit brighter golden white light than the white golden light of the hue that surrounds Earth and the moon and the sun and the stars and the galaxies in the physical universe. The one parallel dimension of the physical universe where Earth is that you're familiar with. Because there are Earth worlds higher than what you know of normally, operating on a higher molecular time rate, a parallel dimensional reality, different than this Earth you know here. These are very real places that exist, but people on Earth, of course, are terrified to even leave their body. Demons will get them or something. Of course, what they don't realize is they've already been got. That's why they're on Earth afraid to do anything. It doesn't work like, oh, I'm afraid I can't leave my body. Because then I'll be in trouble. They don't stop to realize that that's a done deal. That already happened. There isn't anything that can be done to anybody on this earth again that hasn't been done to them. There's only one way from this point, onward and upward. So this sphere of golden white light that surrounds us like the hull of a spaceship is now moving upward where Tyrellian's pointing, and Satnam is pointing upward above that. At the dinner pointing upward. And all we're doing is following these two silent mentors. This time they are the guides on the journey. A man and a woman, male and female. One has a blue gown, one has a green gown. They're surrounded by brilliant light. They look like they have physical bodies. Well, the woman has a brown skin, the man Caucasian. Long hair to their shoulders. His is blonde, hers is green. The face is a white golden light. You can't see any details because above these forms they're showing you are silent mentor, what you would call a type of an Atma. 4 times bigger than any of us. About the same size as Satnam. But Satnam's colors are a little different. And they have twice as many teardrop-shaped layers, 4 feet, like 4 times bigger than what we are. And they are using their fingers, they're pointing upward. And then they place their hands out with their palms out and their fingers spread. And they make this motion like they're putting their hands underneath this sphere of light Tyrellian's created. And they're moving it up past them, including Satnam on the way, and then moving it up into the vortex. Because part of what our journey is going to be this time, for whatever reason, is to meet with some silent mentors. Rub shoulders with them a bit. Get our consciousness out of the rut, the box of planet Earth. It's not just about knowing master teachers and Satnam, who's the Purusha, or the ruler or governor, you might say, of the Atma plane above the void, higher. It's also about meeting the mechanics of creation that isn't talked about on Earth, even in esoteric circles. I don't think there's a book on Earth, might be one mentioned briefly in one paragraph or one couple of places in a chapter of a book I know of, but nothing more than that is ever brought out to people on Earth. Galactic Alliance people knew of them, but have never met them, didn't know how to contact them, never crossed paths with them in billions of years. That's all changing. They have actually come down into the upper level of the physical universe, which is how you see them. They're not limited to parallel dimensions, 144. They're not limited to the astral, causal, mental, etheric, or the void, or Satnam's realm, or the realms above, or the ocean of sound and light, or their own realm, or the Hue expansion ray plane higher than that. They have absolute freedom to move in all of it instantly in any form they wish, whenever they desire, to carry out a mission. So they're moving this spaceship of light around us. You can hear a sound of rumbling thunder, but it's gentle. It's like a humming, rumbling sound without lightning. And then it starts to morph into this higher sound. It sounds like crashing of an ocean wave on a beach. Then it sounds like running water trickling down a brook's stones. And then it sounds like humming of bees and crystal bells ringing consistently. And it goes up into the sound of bagpipes and more of these bees and a humming electrical sound. Only it's not electrical. And then we find ourselves in the void, in the middle of it. Still with this energy around us. Tyrellian still standing in the center. There's the man and woman beside you. 100 master teachers in between each of us around Tyrellian. I didn't bother to mention. And these 2 silent mentors, one male, one female, and they're still up above this oval golden sphere of light that surrounds us, and there's still Satnam, a little higher, and he disappears ever upward in a spiral of light. The silent mentors disappear upward in a spiral of light. And then our whole sphere of beings, oval energy, spirals upward in a projection of light, you might say. And the sound becomes more of the high note of a single pure flute, playing a hauntingly beautiful melody. And we're suddenly standing on the shore of a white diamond-like beach lit up a foot above the sand. And we have stepped foot, this perfect energy body you have, the atmos, you hovering above it. But to get a tactile sensation, you have to have an energy body that's like human, which is why it's a prototype. Because it can see, taste, touch, smell, but it is not physical matter. It's not DNA. It can't die. You can't attack it. It doesn't age. And you can wiggle your toes in this sand and feel this warmth and cool energy spiral up your legs. And then it goes through the top of your head. It makes you look up smiling, goes into the white core of your being, and expands out through the entire layers of the atma. And then it continues out into the void. The hue moves through us for our benefit and keeps us suspended or supported. But it never stops. It's always moving through us on its way somewhere else for the benefit of others too. This is what people don't understand about what they call divine spirit. They don't understand what it is. They don't know how to talk to it. They pray to it. Give me this, give me that. They don't have much other choice on earth the way they are. So we're meant to visualize in this omnipresent living power. We're meant to say to it, I want to go to see Zetranami. I want to go see that mountain range. I want to go to the U Expansion Ray Academy. I want to mix it up with silent mentors. The one place in all of creation where we can really do that. It's not the only place, but it's the most practical place because there we can be part of co-creating, changing not only the upper worlds, but the lower worlds of time and space as well. Why? Because here, standing on this beach of Zetranami's realm, we are in the first higher realm of pure positive energy that exists above or on the upper side of the void. The void is pure hue, but it is nothing here. There's no buildings or trees or anything like that. You start to see that again like form at the beach of Zetranami's realm. When you look at this beach, we're all standing down this beach, hundreds of us. And you can see as far as this beach goes in both directions, and it tends to curve way out in the distance in on itself. Means it's circling a circular landmass, a very large one. Bigger than 1,000 galaxies down in the physical universe. Bigger than that. So this is a playground, and I don't mean a childish playground, of atmas. This is the realm, the original home of the Atma before it embarked on journeys in the lower worlds of time and space. This is our true home. It's not our pure true home because that's all the way up further in the source or prime creator itself. And that's above Agam Purusha's realm. You know that dude that regulates all the raw power of eternity? You guys don't even know what humble is till you've met someone like him. A guy that operates selflessly all the time, forever, maintaining and regulating this power. It's a very special being. And we have to actually cross through his realm to get permission from him or authorization to step back home into the ocean of sound and light, prime creator source, where you don't get there. Period. Doesn't matter what you believe or what you think. These guys are in these positions for a purpose, to protect or guard the upper realities from negative nature. They keep that below the void. That was the original experiment. We all thought it was hip, slick, and cool way back when. You know, good and evil, pitchfork in the butt, make you run forward in the right spiritual direction, spiritual logic. It didn't work. It backfired terribly. It was worked so well in a way it trapped most beings that were supposed to be co-creators with Source, stuck in the illusion of bodies over billions of years in the lower planes, which is how you found yourself on Earth going, how did I get here? How come I don't remember anything? Who am I? Well, this is the way we recover who am I. You cannot do it through faith and belief. We have to do it by direct awakening experience. We have to turn back on the higher faculties of some of those teardrops and those layers that make up the Atma in order to have the wisdom and simple understanding of the multidimensional creation. Because we all have it. Different people are afraid of different levels for different reasons and different dimensionalities. So they know bits and pieces here and bits and pieces there, and not enough of a whole picture to get out of their trap on Earth at all. So when we come into the void and step into Satnam's realm, standing on this beach, we are literally standing in pure hue that has no negative nature. And while you're standing in it, you have no negative nature whatsoever, because that's been left, turned off, in your etheric body in the etheric plane, mental body in the mental plane, causal body in the causal plane, astral body in the astral plane, and your physical body back on Earth. These are all forms you have. You're running on each of those dimensions below the void. Now, it makes sense, if they're your forms you're running as an individual Atma, that you should be awakened or become aware of this again, because they're still your responsibility. We can't get out of that. We really only have one purpose for existing. And up here, standing on this beach of truth, let's call it that. Satnam standing on the beach with us, actually hovering above the trees, kind of, how do I put it? Singing the hue with all these beautiful birds that surround him. He's singing the hue and they're singing it with him, male and female, about a foot long. Long, split, swallow-like tails, rainbow-colored body feathers, twin sets of bird wings like a dragonfly, but they're a bird, big blue eyes, male and female. I think the females have a little bit longer split tail. The colors are the same. And they have beautiful singing voices. And the Atma is hovering above the bird form of this body. This one bird form is far more evolved than even four-stranded DNA humans down in the Milky Way Galaxy. Doesn't matter that it's not human. Don't take these as birds, as some kind of animals. They are greeters. They welcome us into Satnam's realm. Actually, these Atmas hovering above these bird bodies are part of what holds the structure of the Atma plane together. So if you really want to know the secret about who these birds are, take a look at the these two silent mentors hovering above the trees, up with Satnam, with these birds surrounding them. And then look at yourself hovering up there with them. You're not on the beach anymore. You're right in the middle of all these other beings. And then you realize that these beings hovering above these birds are all silent mentors. Aren't what you thought they were, previous journeys. These beings help maintain the mechanics of creation, whether it's the Atma plane, or the sixth plane above Satnam's realm, or the pyramid where Lightsea works and the Hue Expansion Ray Academy where we're headed, or the void, or the different dimensions below the void, or all the galaxies. They hold it all together. They maintain it as individual beings. And all they're doing is sharing with us our potential. What does that mean? Well, if you have no negative nature, and you are up here in the Satnam realm, in the Atma plane, hovering above the trees with these birds who are silent mentors and two silent mentors that show you a human-like form, you begin to understand that they can take on any form they wish, anywhere, any moment, at any time. So we are mixing it up with the mechanics of creation. Them making themselves known to people is a recent event in intergalactic interdimensional history, because they never really did this before. And it's because they've established themselves in the Hue Expansionary Academy, which is the next stop above Satnam's realm. They've established certain training facilities in the huge circular floating landmass that is the Hue Expansionary Academy, which was built in a special, pure, parallel dimension between the top of Satnam's realm, it has a width to it, and the beginning of the 6th realm, and the 7th, the 8th, the 9th, the 10th, the 11th, the 12th, 13th, 14th. These are realities that we once knew about. Just because you're running a body on Earth does not mean you should not know this stuff at the same time. To think otherwise is to be trapping yourself in limitation. There is no such limitation other than the ones we make for ourselves. So limitations of fear and negative nature and doubt must be dropped permanently. Up above Satnam's realm, if you look in the distance, you can see a diagonal snow-covered mountain range, blue stone, white snow, palatial estate against the base of it. Right below us, a fountain coming out of 100 foot in diameter, white stone floor, 7 concentric circles of 4 foot high flowering plants going back as far as you can see. And this fountain statue of Satnam. Now that is a device in honor of him. It's in his form. He's hovering beside it. There's an energy vortex running down into the top of the head of this statue of him, fills this mountain, flows over the edge in an even glistening sheet, drops behind a circular flat stone sitting bench, and goes down into the void from here. Downward into the void. In the distance, you can see this palatial estate and foot-thick quartz luminous steps going up, like leading up to a big Greek palace. 2 big lapis lazuli, big blue stones laced with gold, and a throne kind of chair sitting back in there up some steps in a blue quartz-like luminous floor. It's a blue stone. It has curved edges. There's no cushions. You don't ever see Satnam sitting there. It's a device. There's a white golden light coming down into it from higher realities. And behind it, a triangular opening that leads out into a much bigger fountain and the back of this mountain range. It's a botanical paradise out there. There's still a huge distance between the fountain and the base of the mountains at this point. And this fountain is much bigger than the one in Satnam's garden. It has these white scalloped edges, but it has this energy like the shape of a Christmas tree that's blue and green and gold, flowing upward to a point and flowing downward. And around it is a transparent, pastel, golden white energy filling it. And it keeps the Satnam realm charged. So we're going up as a group of beings around Terrellian in this golden white energy spaceship, and we're moving up into this shaft of light. The next thing we know, we come out and we're moving into an energy, into the distance. And what we see now is a beautiful cobalt blue, luminous atmosphere. And a floating landmass, gigantic. A white, luminous, diamond-like beach surrounding it, but much brighter than in Satnam's realm. And there are 12 domes on little islands surrounding the outside of this huge floating landmass. Those are silent mentor teaching facilities. And we're hovering high above the Hue Expansionary Academy, looking down into the basin between the 6 mountains, which is near the center. And you can see a white island, maybe 100 feet across, blue-green luminous lake surrounding it, a transparent blue glass-like tower coming up very high to a flattened oval administration area with another fountain in it, but no statue of Zetranami. It goes up to a minaret point. There is a pastel shaft of white golden light coming down into this fountain, into this administration tower. So we're getting around in the Zetranami realm. We're up now in the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, looking down at the Hue Expansion Ray Academy tower. And then we go up into this Christmas tree-like light as a group of beings and find ourselves suddenly looking down on the Hue Expansion Ray Academy from far above it. Keep with me, keep moving. We do this to get you used to the fact that you don't want to be static. You don't want to stay in one place, because here there's no limitations of time and space. And we want to learn more and gather more and see more in each journey. Now from up here you can look down on the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, and you see that there are these little tunnels, horseshoe shaped, coming out of the base of all these 6 mountains. And they connect to white roadways made of stone-like, and they go out to the beach and end on the beach in 360 degrees, like the spokes of a bicycle tire. There are teaching facilities down each roadway, to the left and to the right later, then to the right, then to the left, and so forth, and clearings where there are different structures of crystalline buildings, pyramids, and other forms, where different facets of multidimensional creation and how to circumnavigate the multidimensional universe are taught. Looking down on the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, you can see it's, if you divide it into like quarters of a pie, there's a white roadway going down from one of the mountains right down the middle of each quarter. And 2/3 of the way towards the beach, there's a turn to the right in each one of them, north, south, east, and west. And there's a clearing. Those are silent mentor teaching facilities. So to keep it simple, we're going to go to the northeastern quadrant and find ourselves suddenly hovering above this clearing. And in this clearing is a white circular stone type floor. Surrounding it are 12 trees that look like giant weeping willow trees with broad spoon-shaped luminous leaves. Standing above the top of these beautiful weeping willow type trees, trunks are luminous, transparent, are these 12 silent mentors, alternating male and female in a circle. They have different kinds of single colored gowns on, they have different kind of hair to their shoulders, different kinds of skin color. You don't see any facial features though, because that's just a white golden light. And when you look into any of their faces, you see multiple dimensional levels of galaxies. You see the Atma plane. You can see the ocean of sound and light. Higher up, you can see the structure of the multidimensional creation because they dwell in it. They see it all simultaneously at one moment. That is a silent mentor. So they can move within the consciousness of their own being, anywhere in it instantly. And what we're doing is hovering in a circle between the silent mentors and this sphere of light about 4 feet across, like glass, cobalt blue glass, transparent, has a radiant cobalt blue star in the center of it, brighter than the glass. It's glass-like. It's all energy. There's a shaft of white golden light coming down into that star from a much higher reality. Now this is what silent mentors hold together in the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. This is a teaching facility. You're hovering in a circle of beings with 100 these other master teachers. Turelian, for an example, is hovering up in the shaft of light coming down into the sphere. And so is Zetranami, just as an example. The 2 silent mentors that guide us here are hovering in that light beside Turelian, pointing to their fellow associates. Now what's happening is the energy coming through these silent mentors, through this big spherical being, 4 times bigger than us, and through Turellian, and through these 2 other silent mentors, is passing through us. It never stops. It's not telling you what it's doing or if it's doing anything at all. But we're rubbing shoulders with the mechanics of creation. These are the most evolved beings that exist. Well, that's not true. If you're awake, you're as evolved as they are. But let's face it, they have special capabilities most Atmas do not have, including the abilities of master teachers. You have to earn the right to step into what they do. So that would take another billion years of training. So instead, we have the opportunity to become kind of a prototype. I know because I was the first one to become it. It's a mix between a silent mentor, a little bit of what they do, and more of what the master teachers do in caring about individual beings. Your evolution, for instance. Silent mentors have no regard in that way for us. It's not their job to hornswoggle moving some reluctant being along in creation. They don't do that. So we get to mix it up a little bit with them. And now we're moving up into the energy field in this oval golden sphere of light surrounding all of us. Up into this energy shaft above this sphere of light with the cobalt blue star. And we're going to go upward. And we're shot upward instantly. The next thing we see is a fiery realm of yellow and white and golden energies, orange like fire moving in and out of everywhere. Nothing solid, except one thing in the distance. And it's called the Tree of Life. And it's this massive silver golden light tree with silver needles and a transparent golden trunk and roots going down and disappearing in the distance of this moving energy. And there's this being approaching us, hovering towards us. It's massive. He's bigger than all the beings that we've seen on this journey. This is Agam Purusha. This is a guy that runs or regulates the raw power from dimensions above, which is really more highly radiant, and generates it like a generator through his being down into the different planes, and he's kind of present everywhere in the omnipresent hue itself, this being. So the real generation station for the omnipresent hue is here. The sound cannot be described as far as the music of the spheres here in human terms, but it keeps you all in serenity of being. Serenity of being is a pure state of an Atma, without distortion, subconscious minds, none of that baloney of the lower plane bodies and all their problems. Because those bodies are asleep right now. Your etheric, mental, causal, astral bodies are asleep, or sitting on golden steps, or standing in a doorway with eyes closed. And the Atma, you, are running all of them. Right now, from here. They need to be turned off and run on automatic so you can be completely here. Get my point? Otherwise it's all fragmented. So we're in Agam Purusha's realm, and we're moving with a wave of his hand. We're moving right through the branches of this tree, which is vast, size of worlds. And individual needles, you can see individual places and planets and galaxies and dimensions and doorways between dimensions as we move through these branches. Because this is the Tree of Life, and it's connected to all of it from here. That shaft of golden light in the middle of this trunk of this tree is a power station regulated by Agam Purusha to keep everything functioning. They're not judge and juries of beings. They don't pass judgment. They're not some gods on a throne to punish you if you don't do what they say. They have nothing to do with us normally. And then we move into the trunk of the tree and we're shot upward. Still as a group of beings. And as we come out the other end of this, we're looking into an even larger arena, a huge cobalt blue, brilliant blue atmosphere, much brighter than even the raw power of Agam Purusha's realm. And in the center of it, way off in the distance, is this one gold and silver galaxy turning on its axis. You can see there's a void in the center of it and a white island. And there's something very large, shaped like us, or we're like it. A spherical presence. Many more layers of rainbow colors and teardrop faculties in it. And we're moving through the arms of the spiral arms of this galaxy in this cobalt blue light. The sound coming from the source is unimaginably beautiful. It's multidimensional, so it cannot be described in human terms. But here you can perceive and understand it. And it draws us through these beings who you thought were stars, they're individual atmas. They make up the arms of this galactic thing spinning around a core, which is where galaxy shaped and design came from here. As above, so below. And we all had a hand in creating those galaxies. We're supposed to be trustworthy custodians and caretakers of it. How can you do that if you can't remember where you are, stuck in a body on Earth going, huh? What? We're moving through these beings, and if you realize as we move through them, the space between them is very large, like two stars in space. This whole group of us passes through them easily, and we come out in a void and we see there's a white island in the middle of it. And hovering above this white island is a single presence. And we're moving towards it. We don't have any physical, pure, perfect-looking human forms here. This is just the realm of the pure Atma. This is just the spherical us. And we know who we are. And as we come to hover above this white beach, hard to describe. It looks like stone, it looks like sand, but you can't really describe it. It's all luminous, everything's lit up. And we're moving inside and between the individual teardrop faculties of this whatever it is. And there's as much distance between them as the stars in space. And we move right into the white core of this presence. That means the Atma we are is moving the white core of what we are into the white core of this presence. This is Source, this is Prime Creator, this is the Ancient One. It is not an individual God on a throne, male or female. You will never find that here. And you hear a voice come out of nowhere that says, welcome home. It is a presence in a focused point of all Atmas and all creation who are still made of this energy. No matter how conscious, unconscious they are, what plane they're on, what planet they're running. The one omnipresent power supports all of it on all the multidimensional levels. Always has, always will, and we're comprised of exactly the same core energy. This means we're supposed to wake up here and realize we were meant to return here long ago and didn't. And we're meant to go there and come back and run these bodies we have properly and become conscious custodians and caretakers of the creation we helped build. So how old are you? Older than the planets and the galaxies you see in a telescope. Older than the lower dimensions of time and space. Older than hundreds of billions of Earth years. Up here, there's no age, there's no past and future. There's just an eternal presence. Now, this is where we come from. And then we find ourselves standing on the white beach of the Hugh Expansionary Academy at the end of the Western Roadway. And you can look down this roadway and see the 6 snow-covered mountain peaks in the center. And all these jungle paradises and perfectly horticulture and agriculture, everything's there is just perfectly laid out. Everything is luminous. There are no planets, no moons, no suns, no stars here. They're not needed or necessary because we're all glowing. Everything radiates a light here. And the atmosphere, which is cobalt blue, is the same energy we are. It's radiating a light. Yet it takes on the form of a cobalt blue light backed with a golden white light of a higher nature. Now, if you're standing on this beach, you're going to have to keep your eyes closed or you're not going to stand on this beach. Because when you look at the physical universe, it's okay because you can be right down in the physical body 1 second and right back here. You just have to make sure you don't put any crap in the way like, oh, that's hard. Just don't do that. keep the primary implant turned off. Then we find ourselves in space, hovering above a planet. It's not Earth. It's Zetranami 1, and it's located near the galactic core of the Milky Way Galaxy, because we're hovering above that galaxy, and yet you can see this planet standing out. Not in the core where the white shaft of golden light is, but maybe a third of the way towards it. But certainly at the end of the spiral arms around this much more concentrated area of stars. And you look down in the atmosphere, which is glowing, because the H2O in that atmosphere is charged with the hue. And you can see there's 3 planets the size of Earth circling this big planet. It's 4 times bigger than Earth. No polar ice caps anywhere. Trinary sun system, which most of the stars in the Milky Way are, not single like ours. And you find yourselves hovering near the inside of a white dome down on the planet. Tyrellian standing on a blue disc about a foot thick, 20 feet wide, like a stage. And there's these levels of concentric circles of white stone, maybe a foot thick, that go back up like a stadium. And there are white leather-like chairs and 5,000 council members of the Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds. And they have a white robe on and a gold sash from their right shoulder to their left hip. And they're of different races, all different colors of skin and hair and eyes and ears, and just standing up because we are floating in a circle of beings around Tyrellian, who's standing on that stage. And he's opening up this big book made of a blue kind of, it's hard to describe. It's a blue-gray type of a book. It's huge because he's 18 feet tall, and he opens it up and you can see these lines like words on a book, but they're golden glowing like hieroglyphics, letters moving and changing. You can't read them with your physical eyes at all. So this is the Sayre's agenda. It's not my agenda. It has to do with some energy from the higher worlds where we came from that first affected the Sayres, changed them. And Tyrellian came here and changed all of them. That's why we can visit them this way. They see us. They know we have physical bodies asleep on Earth. They can see us because they're hovering above the bodies they're showing you as Atmas right now. The energy moving through Tyrellian from above, through the dome, is moving through them. And the energy moving through them is moving through us. So we're in this circle of beings around Tyrellian experiencing a communication with those beings who run over 450 million spacefaring cultures in our physical galaxy, in the parallel dimension of our galaxy where the Earth is. So keep this in mind. When you suddenly find yourself standing on a green luminous beach, and your toes are wiggling in this luminous sand, it's blowing a foot above your toes, and it's this perfect form again of you, the Atma you are, is hovering above this form. Ambassador Tyrellian is standing offshore in this pale blue-green luminous ocean that's calm up to his knees. He's still got his 2 thumbs up with a wider golden light around him. It's still surrounding us. It kind of gets diffused in the atmosphere around us. We're standing on this green beach. It's a big half-moon bay-shaped beach with these beautiful jungle trees, and in the distance, down a brown moss-covered path that goes back as straight as an arrow, at the middle of this beach where we're standing, is a single snow-covered mountain off to the right, and a clear dome covering a small city off to the left, the lower plateau. And up on this 2/3 of the way up this mountainside is a cavern opening, and there's a waterfall pouring out of this mountain from 2/3 up towards the summit. Blue-green luminous water falling thousands of feet down a sheer cliff face, disappearing between these mostly blue, little bit of green tinged fir trees that surround the back of the dome. Naturally, that water becomes a river and it empties into that ocean. Above the waterfall is a clear oval tunnel, man-made. There's white singular dome-shaped lights going back inside it. That tunnel, this is the higher, third higher parallel dimension of Earth, as Earth is, because this Earth has no polar ice caps. The continents, there are two, are different than the world you're used to. You can see the moon in broad daylight. It has an atmosphere. It's beautiful. It's little oceans and little domes. It's turning on its axis, orbiting the planet. And this little dome tunnel that goes up above it goes down and winds itself down until it comes out in the interior base of the Galactic Alliance that was built there in 1908 inside Mount Shasta in Northern California. That tunnel connects two different parallel dimensions together. Galactic Alliance people can go up that in ships. They can leave their body and go up it, or they can take personnel and come out in this dimension and land near that dome, which has three golden-sided, four-sided pyramids and quartz caps in the back, a little semicircular mountain range with little waterfalls coming out of caves that empty into a blue-green lake, surrounded by little white domes and little white stone pathways. There is an oval ivory-colored dome about a third of the size of the pyramids in between these three pyramids. Those are laboratories or scientific research centers. And you can see that there are Oceanian people here. Opelum, Master Opelum, works there. Ramu works there. Ambassador Turellian comes here. Some silent mentors come here. The Zetranami couple from the other side of the Milky Way Galaxy that have 10-foot tall, silver hair, ivory-colored bodies, violet eyes, they come here. That green beach is charged from the Zetranami couple. It's a gift. So we're still standing on the beach too at the same moment. And this energy is moving up through our torsos. It's going into the white core of our being. This is happening for Turellian as well. And I'm there too. It's happening for me too. And then it goes out into the green layer. And it turns on some of those teardrops. Now this has to do with being able to recall those lifetimes you've lived in the lower worlds of time and space that have value for you to know them now, that can compel you to move forward. The rest of those lives don't matter. So when you're hovering in space now, around Turellian where we started the journey, and you see the Earth you're used to with the polar ice caps and the barren moon doesn't turn on its axis, orbits the planet, and you see the white golden light of the hue everywhere and the billions of stars all around us, you know the energy of the hue comes into this universe through the galactic core of the Milky Way Galaxy, and it exits it through the same doorway. It also comes through individual beings. And it comes through certain vortexes or interdimensional doorways that are built within the multidimensional structure so that a higher plane can support a lower plane. These are the doorways we go through that are naturally in creation. Certain Galactic Alliance spacecraft go through them all the time. They know where they are. They've mapped them out. Or we create one and go above this into the void and higher. So when you're hovering back near the ceiling above your body on Earth, this couple is still there beside you. They're soon to step away and disappear because they've been keeping any of your subconscious spheres turned off for the journey. The point is that you're bringing back to that form the awareness of this journey, which has to have an effect on changing you on Earth, because it moves down through the ceiling of your home, right through you, goes out to three pyramids stationed on Earth, two at the bottom of Earth's deepest oceans, one inside a hollowed-out interior of a mountain in the Himalayas. And it goes out to a larger pyramid, one stationed between two stable asteroids, in the asteroid field that circles in the orbit of what was a planet between Mars and Jupiter. And it goes out to big pyramids that have been appearing between stars. It goes all the way back to the galactic core, through Zetranami 1, and right up the shaft of light back to source where we came from. And it never stops moving. So when you open your eyes back here on Earth, you probably won't remember everything we did on this journey. but it won't matter, because when you play this journey back a second time, you will have the ability to know. You'll have more ability to understand it, because you once did. You might as well begin to recover it. This means you have to, at some point, allow yourself to know what you know, despite negative fears and doubts and all that rest of the stuff. Because that's how we become awakened. That's how we become knowers instead of believers. So open your eyes back on earth with that understanding. And if you would turn your mics back on, if you wish to, you can. I think you mentioned, Marcia, you wanted to go play around. We didn't get up to the Silent Mentor's realm itself, but I can tell you it looks like an island floating in, how does it look like? There's a mountain range around a central island. There's a luminous golden beach around it and a blue cobalt atmosphere around it. It's floating in the middle of nothing else. And Silent Mentors work in that realm, and crystal-like buildings surround the center of it. And they're coming and moving and going all the time. So I'll give you a little piece of it for next time. But you may see if you could go there on your own.
Sounds good. I gotta let my dog out. She's
Okay.
getting
We'll see you
well,
later.
oh no, I'll be right back.
Okay. So if any of you want to just wake up, get perky, we can talk about this journey or have fun with it. Ooh, I like that image they left there. Ooh, I wonder where that came from. Well, Lee, how was it for you? How was it for you?
I always keep nodding off here and there. I don't know.
Well, Margaret did that, but the only thing that's nodding off is your body,
Mm,
not you. You just
mm,
you slip into being unconscious with the body, just like you do every night when you put it to sleep. Don't you go unconscious with the body generally? You
Yeah.
wake up
yeah.
without remembering anything? That's an old bad habit. It's a habit you picked up before this life, so don't feel bad about it. Perfectly normal. Susan may have come in and gone out, I don't know. But it's okay. This stuff is not the kind of thing that people on Earth normally are able to retain in a human consciousness. Because the human consciousness they have on Earth says, I don't know nothing. I can't know that. I'm a body. People still think they're a body. They've got a soul somewhere, maybe tucked in their back pocket. Maybe they have a memory wallet. Maybe they got this thing called soul, and it's somewhere. But they're gonna, when the body dies, they're gonna find out later. It doesn't work like that. If you die with that consciousness, you're gonna go right into the astral, some other plane, and be just as dumb as a brick, and not know any more, except that all the fears you have go with you. And those compel us to be reincarnated again, because it's negative, in ways we would rather not. So we want to take fear with us when we leave. And because you're being exposed to the worlds above the void, you have a choice now. If you choose, when the time your body stops, to go above the void to Satnam's realm, as a minimum, you're never going to be part of this reincarnation game again. Because you're going to step into a higher evolution. You have to sooner or later, someday, somehow. We came from the source. You have to return consciously to the source someday.
Yeah.
There's no getting around that one. Any questions?
Not a question, but when we're interacting with the silent mentors, I had a kind of a revelation of they think they're able to experience everything simultaneously, and they're aware of it, like, yeah, wherever they go.
Instantly, it's wherever they put their attention.
Yeah.
Instantly, any direction, or 10 places at once. Because
Or 100.
they're really this big atma, right? They're not the limits of a little brain that can focus on one thing at a time. In other words, you can be aware of everything around you in 360 degrees going out to infinity. If we're plugged into the omnipresent living power when we do it, we have access to all of it. They're fully, masterfully conscious of it. We're learning how to be that way. Satnam's fully, masterfully conscious of it, what he is. Agam Purusha, beings like this. The master teachers in the Galactic Alliance are fully conscious of a lot more than we are, but not fully conscious in the way they are. They're learning too. They're discovering we're supposed to be conscious, trustworthy co-creators with the source itself. And now they are going on these journeys across the void and back to source with us and returning. And then they're dispensing that out to their fellows. It's pretty neat. And we come back and went to Zetranami 1. Now, who brought back the higher awareness consciousness to the Galactic Alliance Council? Did they go with us? No. So you see, there's a real giving here. They have incredibly high consciousness and they're sharing with us, but we're also sharing with them.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm going to bring the
Wonderful.
recording to a close.